what is the value of this notebook? You could measure the value of this notebook by how much it costs to buy it. Now, what is the value of an empty page? You could say it's the cost of how much it made to make the page. Or you could say the value of an empty page is the possibility of what you create on it. Now, what if I told you that this notebook was filled with an award-winning script that would create a multi-million-dollar empire? How much would it be worth then? What if on this page I had a formula that could move you to a result that you wanted in your life 10 times faster than if you didn't have it? What would be the value of the words written on that page? Would the cost of the value of those words be per letter? No. The value of it would be in terms of the transformation and the value that it would bring to your life. Now, what if in this journal, on this blank canvas, I looked at the value was my own imagination, and that I was able to script and write anything that I wanted to come about and feel it as if it already happened, and it would happen in my life? Now, what would be the value of that script? What would be the value of you writing that script? What I'm trying to show with this metaphor is that value is subjective. Value is based on interpretation. And in fact, value is meaning. And that nothing has any intrinsic meaning other than what we give to it. Because if the meaning of this journal is it's just an empty journal and it's worth $2.50. Oh, it says believe in your magic on it. Well, maybe it's worth $5 or $10 because it's got an added value of that. But if it literally had, for example, if this was a handout as a part of a program that had a page on it that literally would transform your entire life and get you the result of manifesting massive amounts of money in 1/10 of the time that it would take you without doing this, whatever's on that page, how much would you pay for that? How much would you pay for a shortcut of something that, say for example, you were able to manifest $100,000 in 1/10 of the time through something that was on one of the pages in this book? How much would that page in this book be worth? How much would you pay for that? Oh, and that you would be able to repeatedly produce that. How much would the page be worth? $1,000? $10,000? Heck, $50,000? Would you pay $50,000 to make $100,000 in 1/10 of the time? You see, value is subjective. So now let's debunk the money is time. How much is it worth for me to pick up this stool right now and move it over here for you? Well, I guess it depends on, are you paying me by the hour to move things around for you, or like what's the context of that stool? Say for example, I moved this stool right here. It took me about a second to do it. Now, what would be the value of me doing that if you were walking through here and there was a bed of spikes right here and you were going to hit that stool and fall and die? Probably be a pretty high value of the fact that I just moved that stool in a second. Right? Would you prefer me to have taken a longer amount of time? Say you're just bed of spikes right here. Stool's right here. You're not paying attention. You don't even know the spike's there. You're done. You're dead. Now, would the value have been more if I had taken longer to perform the task? Like, say I move slower and I move the stool, but you still hit the stool and you fall over. There's more value in me moving the stool quicker. There's more value in the task being done quicker. Isn't that interesting? We've in this paradigm of exchanging time for money, you get paid for the longer that you work. Now, there's a story of an engineer gets hired to come fix something in a factory. And they ask him to take a look. And he goes, and about 10 minutes later, he comes back and the problem is solved. Now they've been trying to solve this problem for a long time, and it was halting production. And the guy asks him, what'd you do? He said, a bolt was loose. He said, so you just tightened it? And he said, yeah. And so he hands him the bill, and the guy's shocked. And he said, but it only took you this long to fix the problem. And it took you pretty much no effort to do it. And he says, I need you to write me up an invoice. And he says, puts on the invoice, tightening one screw, $1, knowing how to do it. It was like $9,999 or something. And as soon as the guy saw it, no further comment, goes, picks up his checkbook and writes him the check. Because he has the value of him knowing exactly what the issue was the actual value that he brought to the situation. And he also wrote 20 years learning how to know exactly where that was. So that whole thing flies in the face of the whole idea that your value is based on how hard you work and for how long. And even if you look at the teachings of Napoleon Hill, they talk about specialized skill as compared to generalized knowledge. And through the mastermind principle, when someone has a specialized understanding or skill, they bring that value to the group. They bring that value to the mastermind. And you don't have to know how to do every single thing, but when that person, having honed in their craft, having knowledge that is specific, puts them into another tier of value. And yet there's another place where you are in a place with a cooperation with infinite intelligence, where you are able to cooperate and co-create with other people in a way that takes you into another zone of value. So the idea that the value is in how long it takes and how hard you have to work, this is very limiting, considering the fact that innovations of simple ideas have created billion-dollar empires. McDonald's. Now, I know a lot of us don't like McDonald's, all right? But you cannot deny the fact that these guys make hamburgers. And they've took the idea of a hamburger and led it into a billion-dollar empire. A hamburger. They didn't even really innovate that much. But it's because of the very simple way that they innovated it. And what was that? It was a little idea. It's like these things start from little ideas that we have access, and then they grow. So that's also the place of that the assets are actually inspirations. That is actually how divine consciousness comes through and creates new things, innovations, original creative ideas and inspirations. I mean, as we align ourselves with that, so like when I said, what is the value of this notebook? If you're looking at, oh, it costs this much to make the notebook, I can go to the store and buy it for this much. But if I said there was one page in here that would make you $100,000, suddenly this notebook is worth a whole lot more. Now, how much are you worth? Are you worth how much you sweat? How much are you worth in the eyes of others? Or are you a priceless emanation of divinity? Are you a child of God with connection to the infinite abundance of the universe, able to, and your gifts and your talents and your skills and your expression and the things that you're here to create and offer are of another paradigm of value? Perhaps other people didn't fully see the value that you had to offer in the past. Just earlier, I was processing through this. I was doing some tapping. And even though other people did not perceive my value in the past, I still love and accept myself completely. Just tapping on the meridians. Even though I feel like sometimes people don't see my value, I love and accept myself. All this misperception around my value, I'm ready to clear this. On the deepest levels of my being, I recognize my true worth. I recognize that I have value by existing. And it can be frustrating when other people don't appreciate your value. But remember that it's not personal. It's perceptual. Because if somebody, for example, can't see, they just see the cover of this book. They don't know what's inside of it. Not everyone's going to see you. Too bad. Too bad for them. The people that are really going to resonate with you. As we work through these patterns, I was feeling frustration coming up earlier in my body, in my solar plexus, confidence. What's my value? You know what I did? I fucking punched my bed and I screamed into a pillow and I did some EFT. And then afterwards I was feeling better and I was feeling clearer. And now I'm feeling the value. What's the value of the sun shining through these trees right now? What's the value of the happiness that I'm feeling? What's the value of your connection to divine spirit? What's the value of these plants breathing out oxygen? What's the value of your feet on the earth and you're feeling grounded and you're feeling good? What's the value of good relationships? What's the value of being able to manifest what you truly want in life? What's the value of living your purpose? It's kind of priceless, right? It's kind of hard to determine a number for that. And then also the other thing too is like, it's so subjective. Because people say, oh, charge this much, charge that much, da 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 da. And it's like, there's at this point of like, I'm just gonna tune into myself and I'm gonna tune into my inner guidance, work through these blocks and share my gifts. And recognize that there's a point of you'll get the right idea. the timing will be right. The seed will come to fruition. And sometimes it takes a moment for that thing to come out into the physical where people are like, oh, wow. And that's also like forgiving other people for not seeing you in the process of what you're creating. Because holding on to that blocks the flow. And what is the value of the seed of a divine idea? Think of even some of the richest people were doubted for their genius. Even geniuses have been called crazy. Einstein was ahead of his time. There were people that doubted Henry Ford, who led to the creation of the whole industry of now we have vehicles. And they persisted because they had the faith of a mustard seed. And they knew that there was something so great about that little idea. So trust in that seed within you. And know that one day they call you crazy, and the next, they'll ask you how you did it. Peace.